The movie opens with a man named Elliot, who's on a plane with his teenage daughter, Ridley. However, they soon receive an announcement that, due to a malfunction, the flight will be delayed for a few hours. Since Elliot is in a hurry, he decides to rent a car instead so they can drive to their destination. Later, the two are seen driving through a beautiful landscape as Elliot thanks Ridley for coming along. It becomes clear that their father-daughter relationship isn't very close, especially since Ridley's mother passed away. We also learn that Elliot is a lawyer working for a pharmaceutical company and is on his way to meet his boss, Odell, who has promised him a promotion. He soon gets a call from his boss, who's irritated that he's an hour late, but Elliot promises that he'll be there soon. Moments later, Elliot begins sneezing uncontrollably from pollen allergies and briefly loses control of the car, during which he accidentally hits an animal. The horrified duo steps out to check and are shocked to discover the creature is a baby unicorn. Realizing it's still alive, Elliot grabs a metal tool and decides to end its suffering. But just then, the unicorn's horn suddenly begins to glow, and when Ridley touches it, she has a vision of a strange cosmic realm. Her vision abruptly ends when Elliot strikes the unicorn, finally ending its life. Ridley is horrified by her dad's actions, but he explains that he couldn't leave the animal in such an injured state. Following this, the two place the unicorn's body in the car and continue driving until they eventually arrive at a beautiful house nestled in the mountains. There, they meet Elliot's billionaire boss, Odell, his wife, Belinda, and their bratty son, Shepard. It's soon revealed that Odell has terminal cancer and doesn't have much time left. Elliot then apologizes for being late, carefully avoiding any mention of the roadkill incident. Later, Ridley washes her face in the bathroom, surprised to see that the unicorn's blood has completely cleared her acne. Meanwhile, Elliot is speaking with the billionaire family and is equally stunned to realize he no longer needs his glasses. They discuss some business, but the billionaire family insists that before making any decisions, they need to get to know Elliot and his family first. That is why they invited Ridley, but she doesn't seem to want to connect with them. Belinda comments that they don't even know what the girl is studying in college, so Elliot replies that it's art history. Soon, Ridley approaches her dad, saying she feels something is wrong and is worried about the unicorn's body. However, Elliot tells her not to panic and assures her they'll bury the body at night so no one will notice. However, out of nowhere, their car starts rocking violently, revealing that the baby unicorn is somehow still alive. A panicked Elliot tells his boss that they need to leave immediately because his daughter is ill. He promises to return after dropping her at the airport, but Odell finds his behavior very unprofessional. Meanwhile, the house's butler, Griff, also notices the unicorn in the car and quickly alerts his bosses. Before anyone can react, the unicorn breaks through the car window and charges at them aggressively. The family's assistant, Shaw, quickly arrives and shoots the creature, finally ending its life. Later, everyone gathers around the strange creature, puzzled, as none of them has ever seen anything like it. Ridley exclaims that it's a unicorn and explains how her acne suddenly vanished because of it, while Elliot mentions his restored eyesight, which means the animal possesses miraculous healing powers. Ridley suggests contacting the World Wildlife Fund to take the unicorn, but Odell stops her, since he doesn't want to lose the chance to profit from the creature. That night, Ridley scrolls through old photos of herself and her mother when she notices a unicorn tapestry in the background of one taken at a museum. She then begins researching and finds several vintage tapestries online depicting the legend of the unicorn, who was once captured thousands of years ago. After enduring endless torture, it unleashed its wrath and wiped out everyone in the village. Over the years, many hunters and kings tried to capture it but failed, until a fair maiden finally managed to enchant it and keep it in captivity. The next morning, several people in protective suits suddenly wake Ridley and Elliot and escort them to a laboratory inside the house. There, doctors take samples and examine their bodies to study the effects of the unicorn's powers. Afterwards, two scientists, Dr. Bhatia and Dr. Song, gather everyone to present their findings. They explain that the unicorn's horn emits bioelectrical signals and that its powdered dust may have more healing properties than blood. Hours later, the doctors extract powder from the unicorn's horn and turn it into a serum, which they then inject into Odell. The old man thanks Elliot for discovering the creature and mentions that he will receive a large sum of money for his contribution. Not long after, Odell appears in the hallway, looking completely healthy and walking without his wheelchair, leaving everyone stunned. The doctors examine him and are shocked to find that Odell's cancer is in remission, which is a miracle. This discovery means the company has potentially found a cure for cancer, and they can now make a fortune from it. That night, the billionaire family calls their friends, acquaintances, and investors to announce that they've discovered a potential cure for cancer. Meanwhile, Ridley prints out all the tapestries and tries to warn them that keeping the unicorn could lead to disaster, just as it did in the Middle Ages. But no one takes her seriously, not even her father, who is blinded by the promise of money and power. Enraged, Ridley storms off as the family prepares the unicorn's body for transport to the company's lab. However, seconds later, all the electricity in the house suddenly goes out, and growling noises echo from the surrounding forest. Out of nowhere, Dr. Song is impaled by the horn of a massive unicorn. It becomes clear that the baby unicorn's parents have arrived to retrieve their child, and chaos erupts. The security team opens fire on the creatures while Elliot yells at Ridley to hide inside the car. The guards keep firing, but the unicorns fiercely fight back, taking them down one by one. At a critical moment, Ridley dashes toward the house and manages to slam the gate shut just in time to protect herself. In a surprising twist, a unicorn suddenly calms when it sees her and kneels before the door. Its horn begins to glow, and as Ridley reaches out to touch it, Shaw fires his gun, forcing the creature to retreat and vanish into the forest. Afterward, everyone hides in the kitchen, and now they're finally willing to listen to Ridley. She explains that ever since she touched the baby unicorn, she has been feeling a deep connection to the creature. She warns that the parent unicorns only want to retrieve their child, but the family refuses to let their golden goose go. Instead, they plot to kill the parents as well, aiming to exploit the creature's powers to cure as many sick people as possible and make a fortune. Afterward, Odell and his men arm themselves to enter the woods and kill the unicorns, but Ridley pleads with her father not to be part of such a cruel plan. However, Elliot refuses to listen, as he is tempted by Odell's promise to make him a 50-50 partner. The group sets off into the forest, while Shepard notices Dr. Bhatia crying and mourning the death of her colleague. He urges her to continue working on the experiment to ensure her colleague's death wasn't in vain. This motivates Dr. Bhatia, after which Shepard instructs her to separate the unicorn's horn from its head. Afterward, Shepard takes some of the powdered unicorn horn and snorts it like a drug. He immediately falls into a deep trance, and his eyes turn a vivid purple. Meanwhile, Ridley gets into her car and notices a strange aurora borealis lighting up the sky, filling her with fear. She returns to the house to study the tapestries again and is horrified to realize that unicorns can heal themselves, effectively making them immortal. She urgently tries to text her dad to warn him, but the signal is too weak. At the same time, Dr. Bhatia begins cutting the baby unicorn's horn, which shockingly starts to glow. Meanwhile, in the woods, Elliot, Odell, and the others encounter one of the parent unicorns, whose horn is also glowing. Ridley urgently tells Griff that the unicorns can heal themselves, meaning Odell and everyone else there is in grave danger. Belinda overhears the warning and tries to communicate with her husband, but her efforts are in vain. Soon, Dr. Bhatia successfully cuts the horn from the baby unicorn, and at the same time, Elliot finally receives his daughter's warning and tells the others to leave. Just then, a unicorn lunges at Shaw and kills her instantly. The parent unicorns continue their relentless attack and take down many humans. Amid the chaos, Elliot and Odell barely manage to escape and make it back home safely. However, soon the two parent unicorns arrive at the front door and surround Odell. The old man believes he can connect with them like Ridley and speaks to them sweetly. One of the unicorns crouches, seemingly inviting him to pet it, and its horn begins to glow. An excited Odell steps forward to touch the horn, but this turns out to be a fatal mistake. The unicorn instantly impales him and ends his life while his family watches in horror. Griff quickly shuts the door, and they barricade it to keep the creatures out. Next, Ridley urges everyone to return the baby unicorn to its parents to make them finally leave. Elliot tries to call the cops, but the unicorns have cut the power, disabling the signal. Griff explains that without electricity, the electric door cannot be opened, and they can't get the car out to leave. This means someone must go outside to manually open it, while another distracts the unicorn with the baby. Shepard and Belinda order Griff to do it, but he is unwilling to risk his life for them. However, when they continue to pressure him, he reluctantly agrees. Meanwhile, Dr. Bhatia takes charge of preparing the baby unicorn for transport. Before leaving, she shows Elliot something and warns him that they should focus on saving themselves instead of trusting Odell's family. The plan begins, and Dr. Bhatia approaches the parent unicorns to hand over the baby, while Griff manages to open the gate. Elliot and Belinda find a car to escape, but their children are nowhere in sight. Belinda rushes back into the house searching for her son, and is shocked to find him snorting the powdered horn like a drug. At the same time, the parent unicorns are enraged to see their baby dead and its horn taken, so they immediately attack Dr. Bhatia, killing her. Griff has had enough, so he decides to run away from the mansion alone. Everyone else hides inside, while Ridley blames herself for everything, and her father tries to comfort her. Meanwhile, Shepard reveals that he just learned the unicorn's only weakness is encountering a maiden of pure heart, and he thinks Ridley could be that. He wants to use her as bait, but Elliot refuses and also declares that he is quitting their company. Afterward, Shepard snorts more of the powdered horn and tells his mom that he knows what they have to do to save themselves. He quickly approaches Ridley and grabs her arm, but she refuses to go with him. Suddenly, the unicorns arrive by breaking down the door, forcing everyone else to flee to the back of the house. Shepard and his mom stay downstairs, where he notices the container containing the unicorn's horn and quickly retrieves it. He tells his mom that snorting the powder has made him intelligent and urges her to open the container so he can inhale more and gain the knowledge to defeat the unicorns. However, when they open the container, they are shocked to discover that the horn is gone. Meanwhile, Elliot and Ridley are hiding in a room where she can't understand why the unicorns are still after them, even after the baby has been returned. Elliot shows her the horn and confesses that he stole it, hoping to gain some money. Ridley is tired of her father's greed, but he explains that he did it for her because he promised her mother that he would always care for Ridley. However, he now realizes that he had been doing all of this for his own greed, not for his daughter. A regretful Elliot sincerely apologizes for everything, and Ridley also understands and hugs him. On the other hand, Shepard has armed himself with crossbows and arrows to try to defeat the creatures. Belinda is hiding when a unicorn approaches and begins brutally attacking her. She grabs one of Odell's oxygen tanks and yells at her son to shoot it, hoping it will cause an explosion and blow the creature to pieces. Shepard raises his bow, but at the last moment, he freezes and is unable to do anything. The helpless boy watches as the creature brutally rips his mother's intestines apart. Elsewhere, Elliot locks his daughter on the balcony and tells her to run while he goes to return the horn to the parent unicorns. He then opens the bedroom door and runs outside while being chased by the unicorn. Ridley, on the other hand, jumps from the balcony and lands in some bushes. Before she can get away, Shepard appears behind her with a bow and orders her to follow him. He makes her kneel in front of the house and plans to use her as bait to trap the creatures. Soon after, a unicorn emerges from the house and slowly approaches Ridley, who is frozen in fear. It sniffs her and she braces herself for the worst, but the creature shockingly lies down beside her. Ridley gently pets it, but Shepard quickly ties its legs with rope to stop it from escaping. At this moment, Elliot returns with another unicorn, while still carrying the baby unicorn's horn. An excited Shepard declares that they are now partners and will split the profits 50-50. Just then, the second unicorn also lies down beside Ridley, and Shepard ties it as well. He then congratulates Elliot for becoming his partner, but in a shocking twist, Elliot suddenly lunges and brutally stabs him with the unicorn horn. Shepard is badly wounded, but he also fights back by firing an arrow straight into Elliot's chest. Upon seeing this, a horrified Ridley runs to her dad, just as one of the unicorns manages to free itself from the ropes. The creature notices Shepard trying to get up and brutally kicks him in the face, finally killing him. Meanwhile, Elliot is on the verge of death, so Ridley wants to take him to the hospital, but he stops her and asks what she saw when she first touched the baby unicorn's horn. She tells him it felt like a journey to a place between life and death, where her mom was waiting for her. Elliot is overjoyed to hear this, and he hopes to soon reunite with his late wife in that place. Moments later, Elliot finally passes away, and Ridley breaks down in tears. The unicorns notice her grief and drag Elliot's body to place it beside their baby. The two unicorns then touch their horns together, which begin to glow. Using their powers, they reattach the severed horn to their baby, and it immediately comes back to life. At the same time, Elliot's wounds begin to heal, and he is also revived. When he touches one of the unicorn's horns, he experiences the same vision his daughter saw when she first touched it. Moments later, a surge of energy forms between the unicorn's horns, causing a small explosion that knocks everyone to the ground. The parent unicorns then turn white, like the baby, and return to the woods with happiness. Elliot and Ridley hug each other in relief, just as Griff returns to the house with the police. They are shocked to see multiple dead bodies, while the unicorns are nowhere to be found. The police then escort Ridley and Elliot and drive them away from the mansion. On the way, a police officer speaks with his superior, explaining that he'll take the survivors to the station for statements, but it will be very difficult for anyone to believe their story. The superior points out that, in that case, the survivors would likely be treated as suspects. Upon hearing this, Ridley and Elliot aren't scared, and they just laugh. Ridley tells her dad that even though the weekend didn't go as he planned, they're better off now and will be fine no matter what happens. Elliot is delighted, and he informs her that he also saw the place where his wife is waiting for them. Moments later, the three unicorns emerge from the forest and charge down the middle of the road. They pass Griff's car and notice the police vehicle where the father and daughter are handcuffed. One of the unicorns approaches Elliot's window and looks deep into his eyes as if trying to communicate something. He also understands and quickly puts on the seatbelts with Ridley before both of them duck their heads. The unicorns then violently ram into the vehicle and knock it off the road. The movie ends as the creatures let out powerful neighs, leaving the fates of our protagonists unknown. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a comment, and check out this next video.